My name is Dr. Rebecca Chen. I'm a 41-year-old cardiac surgeon. I've spent 17 years studying the human heart, repairing arteries, implanting pacemakers, saving lives. I've always been a person of science, logic, evidence, reproducible results. I never believed in those near-death experience stories. I always thought they were just inventions of oxygen-starved brains, neurological misfires, wish fulfillment. But what happened to me on March 14th, 2024 was real, and it changed my life forever. For 6 minutes and 32 seconds, my heart stopped. I was clinically dead, and during those 6 minutes, Jesus showed me something about November 2026 that I cannot keep to myself any longer. What I'm about to share with you will challenge everything you think you know about what's coming. But before I tell you what he revealed, you need to understand how I got there. It was supposed to be a routine Thursday. I had 3 surgeries scheduled, all straightforward cases. The last patient was a 68-year-old man with coronary artery disease, a standard bypass procedure I'd performed hundreds of times. The surgery went perfectly. I was closing up, feeling that familiar satisfaction of another life saved, when something strange happened. A sharp pain exploded in my chest, not the dull ache you might associate with stress or fatigue. This was different, acute, crushing, like someone had reached into my ribcage and squeezed my heart in a vice. I remember gripping the surgical table, trying to steady myself. My vision started to blur at the edges. The operating room lights became impossibly bright, searing white halos that hurt to look at. I heard my colleague Dr. Martinez calling my name. His voice sounded distant, like he was shouting from the end of a long tunnel. I tried to respond, but my tongue felt thick, useless. My knees buckled. The last thing I remember from that moment was the cold tile floor rushing up to meet my face and the sound of the heart monitor, my heart monitor, screaming that terrible flat tone that every surgeon knows too well. Time of death. 2:47 p.m. But I wasn't gone, not in the way I'd always believed death worked. Instead, I was suddenly standing in the corner of the operating room, watching the chaos unfold below. I saw my body on the floor, Dr. Martinez starting chest compressions, the anesthesiologist barking orders, nurses scrambling. It was surreal, watching my own resuscitation from above like some kind of medical observer. But what shocked me most wasn't the scene itself. It was that I felt nothing. No panic, no fear, just this strange, detached calm. Then the light changed. The fluorescent hospital lighting started to shift, becoming warmer, softer, almost golden. The operating room began to fade, dissolving like watercolor paint running down wet paper. And suddenly, I was somewhere else entirely. I found myself in what I can only describe as a tunnel, but calling it a tunnel feels inadequate. It was vast, endless, made of what looked like living light. The walls, if you could call them that, pulsed with colors I'd never seen before, colors that don't exist in our visible spectrum. I felt like I was being drawn forward, not walking but gliding, moving toward an intense source of light at the far end. The light grew brighter as I moved closer, but it didn't hurt my eyes. Instead, it felt warm, inviting, like coming home after years of being lost. And then, as I emerged from the tunnel, I stepped into a place that my mind still struggles to comprehend. It was a realm of pure radiance. The ground beneath me, though I couldn't really feel it as ground, seemed to shimmer with crystalline energy. The air, if you could call it air, hummed with a frequency that resonated in my chest where my heart should have been beating. Everything was bathed in this incredible light that seemed to emanate from everywhere and nowhere all at once. And then I saw him. Jesus was standing before me. And the moment I recognized him, a wave of emotions crashed over me that nearly shattered me. Fear, shame, unworthiness. Every mistake I'd ever made, every cruel word I'd spoken, every moment of pride or selfishness, it all came flooding back with perfect, painful clarity. My whole life passed before me, not as a distant memory, but as a living, breathing reality. Every moment, every decision, every thought was revealed. I saw the patient I'd snapped at during rounds because I was tired, the colleague I'd undermined to advance my career, the homeless man I'd walked past on my way to work, avoiding eye contact. Every pain, every error, every regret. I wanted to run, to hide, but there was nowhere to go. I was completely exposed, standing before perfect holiness in the full knowledge of my utter imperfection, and the certainty that I didn't deserve to be there, didn't deserve to be in his presence, was overwhelming. But then he spoke, not with words you could hear with ears, but with a communication that bypassed language entirely and spoke directly to my soul. And what he said changed everything. Rebecca, I know you. I've always known you, and I love you. The love in those words, it's something I can't adequately describe with human language. It was total, unconditional, all-encompassing. It wasn't a love that ignored my failures or pretended they didn't matter. It was a love that saw every single one of them and chose to love me anyway. It was like standing in the sun after a lifetime in the cold, like drinking water after years in the desert. It was everything I'd ever needed and never known I was missing. Tears would have been streaming down my face if I'd had a physical face to cry with. Instead, I felt this profound release, this washing away of shame and guilt that I'd been carrying for decades without even realizing it. And in that moment of grace, of pure, undeserved forgiveness, something in me broke open and something else, something new was born. But then his expression changed, not to anger or disappointment, but to a kind of serious compassion. And he said, "There is something you must know about what is coming, something I need you to understand." He lifted his hand, and suddenly the space around us shifted. I saw a vision unfolding before me, clear as day, more real than any experience I'd had in my physical life. I saw our world, Earth, as it would be in November 2026. The month was specific, November, not October, not December, November 2026. And I saw them. They are coming. I know how this sounds. I know the skepticism you're feeling right now because it's the same skepticism I would have felt before this happened. But I'm telling you what I saw, what Jesus showed me. In November 2026, something is going to arrive, something that will change the course of human history. I saw multitudes, beings of light and power descending, not in the way Hollywood depicts alien invasions. This was different. This was spiritual, real. These were not physical spacecraft, but dimensional doorways opening, and through them came presences that made my soul tremble with a mixture of awe and terror. These were the ones spoken of in ancient texts, the ones who've been watching, waiting, preparing. Jesus showed me that November 2026 isn't random. It's part of a divine timeline that's been unfolding since the foundation of the world. He showed me that the events of these next years, from now, December 2025, leading up to that month, are what he called the conception point. Everything happening now is preparing the way, setting the stage for what's to come. He showed me that 2026 has been marked in the spiritual realm as a defining year. A year when the veil between dimensions will thin, when heaven will intersect with earth in ways we haven't seen since ancient times. And November of that year is when the manifestation will fully occur, when they will arrive. But here's what he emphasized, and this is crucial. This isn't about fear. This isn't about running or hiding or building bunkers and stockpiling supplies. What's coming in November 2026 requires a different kind of preparation, a spiritual one. Jesus told me that these beings, these arrivals, they're coming with a purpose. They're coming to separate, to divide, to reveal what's been hidden in every human heart. He showed me that when they arrive, there will be no more hiding, no more pretending, no more middle ground. Every person will be faced with a choice, and that choice will determine everything. He showed me that the 11 months from now, from this moment in December 2025 to November 2026, are a window of grace, a final opportunity for people to prepare their hearts, to get right spiritually, to choose which side they will stand on when the moment comes. Because once November 2026 arrives, the time for choosing will be over. I asked him, standing there in that place of light, "What do I need to do? How do I prepare?" And he looked at me with such tenderness and said, "You must be ready. You must help others be ready. This isn't about knowledge alone. It's about the condition of your heart." He showed me that many people, even religious people, even people who think they're prepared, aren't actually ready for what's coming. They've built their faith on traditions, on rituals, on intellectual belief systems, but their hearts haven't truly surrendered. And when November 2026 comes, when they arrive, the truth of every heart will be exposed. There will be nowhere to hide. The vision was so vivid, so overwhelming, that I felt like I was being pulled apart and remade at the same time. I saw glimpses of what the world will look like during that time. I saw chaos and confusion for some, but I also saw incredible peace and clarity for others. I saw the dividing line being drawn, and I understood with absolute certainty that this is the most important message I would ever carry. Then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the vision faded. Jesus was still there, his presence filling me with that indescribable love. And he said, "Go back, tell them, prepare them. November 2026 is coming, and time is shorter than they think." And then I was falling, not physically but spiritually being pulled back through that tunnel of light, back toward my body lying on that cold operating room floor. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay in that place of perfect love and peace, but I knew I had a mission. I had to return. I woke up in the cardiac ICU 4 hours later. Dr. Martinez was sitting beside my bed, his face gray with exhaustion and relief. He told me I'd been dead for 6 minutes and 32 seconds. They'd performed CPR, shocked me 3 times, and were about to call it when my heart suddenly started again on its own. A spontaneous return of circulation, he called it. A miracle, he admitted quietly. But I knew it wasn't spontaneous. I knew exactly why I'd come back. I had a message to deliver, a warning to share, and only 11 months to do it. The days following my resuscitation were strange. I went through all the standard medical tests, the psychological evaluations, the debriefings. everyone wanted to understand what had happened. Why a healthy 41-year-old cardiac surgeon had sudden cardiac arrest. They found nothing. No blockages, no arrhythmias, no genetic markers. Medically, it made no sense. But spiritually, it made perfect sense. I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd seen. November 2026, they are coming. The conception point, the 11-month window. Every night I would lie awake, replaying the vision in my mind, trying to process what Jesus had shown me. And every morning I would wake up with the same burning question: how do I tell people this? How do I make them understand the urgency without sounding insane? Because that's the thing. I know how this sounds. I'm a scientist. I spent nearly 2 decades building a career on evidence-based medicine. If someone had told me this story before it happened to me, I would have politely suggested they see a psychiatrist. But I can't deny what I experienced. I can't unsee what Jesus showed me. And I can't ignore the weight of responsibility I feel to share this message. The truth is, most people aren't ready, not because they don't believe in God or the spiritual realm, but because they've never seriously considered that something this massive, this transformative, could actually happen in their lifetime. We've become comfortable in our routines, our distractions, our assumption that tomorrow will look basically like today. But November 2026 is going to shatter that assumption. And here's what keeps me up at night. Jesus didn't just show me what's coming. He showed me why. He showed me the deeper meaning behind November 2026, the spiritual mechanics of what will unfold, the reason they're coming, and what it means for every single person alive today. That's what changed everything for me, understanding the why behind the what. But before I can explain that, you need to understand something else. Something that Jesus revealed to me about the nature of time, about divine appointments, about how the spiritual realm operates on a completely different timeline than we do. Because November 2026 isn't just a date on a calendar. It's a convergence point, a moment when everything that's been building, everything that's been prophesied, everything that's been prepared in the unseen realm will break through into our visible reality. And what that really means for us, for our families, for our futures, that's what I need to tell you next. Because the clock is ticking. December 2025 is here. We have 11 months, and what you do with those 11 months might be the most important decision you ever make. I spent weeks after that hospital awakening replaying every moment of what Jesus showed me. I couldn't shake the weight of those words. November 2026. They are coming. The nurses told me I was lucky to be alive, but I didn't feel lucky. I felt burdened. I felt chosen, and honestly, I felt terrified, because Jesus didn't just give me a warning for myself. He gave me a message for everyone, for you. At first, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was just my brain under stress. Maybe it was the trauma of dying. But the more I tried to explain it away, the stronger the memory became. The light, his face, his voice, the urgency in his eyes. I couldn't dismiss it. And then something happened that made me realize I wasn't alone in sensing this. I started researching. I needed to know if others were picking up on something about 2026. And what I found shook me to my core. I discovered that November 2026 wasn't just some random date Jesus gave me. It's already showing up in prophecies around the world. Baba Vanga, the Bulgarian mystic, had predicted alien contact for November 2026. I know, that sounds wild. But here's the thing. What if that's not about literal aliens? What if it's about spiritual forces? What if they, that Jesus warned me about, are being seen by others too, just described differently? Then I found the blood moon, March 3rd, 2026, a total lunar eclipse. Biblical scholars are calling it a tribulation marker, something significant in the spiritual timeline. And Christian prophetic voices, people like Chuck Pierce and leaders from Bethel Church, they're all saying the same thing. 2026 is a defining year for nations, a turning point, a year of divine intervention and spiritual warfare. I sat at my kitchen table with pages of notes spread out in front of me, and I realized something that made my hands shake. I wasn't imagining this. Jesus didn't warn me about some isolated event. He warned me about a moment that the entire spiritual world is sensing, a convergence, a cosmic shift, and suddenly the weight of my near-death experience shifted from burden to responsibility. If others are sensing it too, if the signs are already appearing, then I have to share this. I have to warn you. So here's what I'm going to tell you, and I need you to listen carefully, because this is the heart of what Jesus showed me. When he said they are coming, he wasn't just talking about a physical event. He was talking about a spiritual battle that will manifest in our world. Let me explain what he revealed to me about the nature of they. Jesus showed me that these beings, these forces, they operate on a level most of us don't see. They're not just flesh and blood. They're principalities and powers, the same forces the Apostle Paul warned about in Ephesians. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. This is what November 2026 represents. A moment when the veil between the spiritual and physical world becomes dangerously thin. A moment when deception will be so convincing, so spectacular, that even believers could be shaken. He showed me that they will come with signs and wonders. They'll present themselves as enlightened beings, as saviors, as the next step in human evolution. But it's a lie. It's the great deception the Bible has been warning us about for 2,000 years. And Jesus looked at me with such intensity when he said this. He said, "They will offer answers, but I am the only truth. They will offer peace, but I am the only peace. They will claim to save humanity, but I already paid that price." I could feel the weight of his words settling into my soul like anchors. This isn't about being afraid of aliens or UFOs. This is about recognizing that we are in a spiritual war, and November 2026 is when that war escalates to a level we haven't seen in our lifetimes. The cosmic event Jesus warned me about isn't just happening in the skies, it's happening in hearts, in minds, in the choice between truth and deception, between following Jesus or following the lie. And here's what absolutely broke me. Jesus didn't just warn me, he prepared me. He gave me specific instructions about how to stand firm when that moment comes. And I'm going to share those instructions with you now, because you have 11 months. 11 months from right now to November 2026. 11 months to get spiritually ready, not through fear, but through faith. The first thing Jesus told me was this: your relationship with me cannot be second-hand. It can't come through a church building, through a pastor, through a tradition. You need to know me directly, personally, intimately, because when the deception comes, it will be so convincing that only those who know my voice will recognize the counterfeit. Think about it. If you've never spent time in real conversation with Jesus, if you've never heard his voice in your spirit, how will you know when something else is pretending to be him? He told me to pray, Not ritual prayers, not memorized words, but real, raw, honest conversations. Talk to me like I'm sitting across from you, because I am. Tell me your fears, your doubts, your questions. Let me into the broken places. That's where intimacy is built. That's where you learn to recognize my presence. And when November 2026 comes, you'll feel the difference between my peace and the false peace they'll offer. The second thing he said was about discernment. Ask me for the gift of discernment. Ask me to show you the difference between truth and deception. The enemy is cunning. He wraps lies in beautiful packaging. He uses emotional manipulation. He uses signs and wonders. But discernment cuts through all of that. It's a spiritual sense that says, something is off here, even if I can't explain why. You need that. You need to develop it now before the pressure is on. He also said, ground yourself in my word, not in interpretation, not in someone else's theology, in my actual word. Read the Gospels, read what I said. Read what I promised, because the deception will twist scripture, it will use religious language, it will sound spiritual. But if you know my word, you'll recognize when something contradicts it. You'll hear the discord, you'll feel the manipulation. And here's the part that gave me so much hope. Jesus said, you are not alone. I am building a community of believers who see what's coming, who are spiritually awake, who refuse to be deceived. Find them, connect with them, pray with them, because isolation makes you vulnerable. But when you stand together in my name, the enemy has no power over you. I want to pause here and tell you what this has done to my life, because I don't want you to think this is just some abstract warning. This changed everything for me. I wake up every morning now, and the first thing I do is talk to Jesus, not out of duty, out of desperate need. I need his presence the way I need oxygen. I've spent years going to church, singing the songs, doing the Christian things, but I didn't really know him. Not like I do now. I've started reading the Bible differently, not as a religious text, but as a love letter, as a guide, as a warning and a promise. And the more I read, the more I see how everything we're experiencing right now was already written. The deception, the spiritual warfare, the call to stand firm. It's all there. It's always been there. And I'll be honest with you, I've lost friends over this. I've had people tell me I'm crazy, that I'm fear-mongering, that I'm taking my near-death experience too seriously, but I've also found something more valuable than their approval. I've found peace, real peace. Not the absence of trouble, but the presence of Jesus in the middle of the storm. And that peace is unshakable. I've also started seeing others wake up, people who used to think spiritual things were weird or irrelevant. They're suddenly asking questions. They're feeling the shift too. They don't always have the language for it, but they sense something is coming, something big. And when they ask me what I think, I tell them the truth. I tell them about Jesus. I tell them about November 2026, and I invite them to get ready. Because here's what I've learned. This isn't about me. This isn't about my experience. This is about all of us. This is about humanity standing at a crossroads, and Jesus is offering us a choice. Will we trust him? Will we know him well enough to recognize truth from deception? Will we stand firm when the pressure is on? I believe with everything in me that you're watching this right now, because you're meant to hear this message. You're meant to prepare. You're meant to be part of the community that stands firm when November 2026 comes. And I'm not saying I know exactly what will happen. I don't know if it'll be a visible event in the sky or a spiritual shift that only those with discernment will sense. I don't know if it'll be sudden or gradual, but I know what Jesus told me. I know the urgency I felt in his presence. And I know that he loves you too much to leave you unprepared. So here's what I want you to do. Right now, in this moment, I want you to take an honest inventory of your spiritual state. Do you know Jesus personally? I'm not asking if you go to church. I'm not asking if you believe in God. I'm asking if you have a real, living, daily relationship with Jesus Christ. If the answer is no, or if you're not sure, then today is the day that changes. Today is the day you stop relying on second-hand faith and you start building your own. Talk to him right now. Out loud or in your heart, it doesn't matter. Tell him you want to know him. Tell him you're ready to prepare. Tell him you need his guidance, his discernment, his peace, and I promise you, he will answer. He's been waiting for you to ask. He's been calling you toward this moment your entire life. If you already know Jesus, then I want to challenge you. Go deeper. Don't settle for comfort. Don't settle for routine. Press into intimacy. Ask him to show you things you've never seen. Ask him to prepare you for what's coming. Ask him to use you as a light in the darkness that's approaching. Because we need you. The body of Christ needs you awake, alert, and anchored in truth. And here's the final thing I need to say. November 2026 is not about fear. It's about faith. It's about choosing right now in December 2025 who you will align yourself with, because what you align with now will determine where you stand when the pressure comes. If you align with Jesus, with truth, with the Holy Spirit, you'll have a foundation that cannot be shaken. But if you're still drifting, still uncommitted, still trying to straddle the fence between faith and the world, November 2026 will force you to choose. And that choice will be harder under pressure. So choose now, choose Jesus now, choose truth now, choose to get spiritually prepared now. You have 11 months. Use them wisely. Pray, read the word, connect with other believers, ask for discernment, build intimacy with Jesus. And when November 2026 comes, you won't be caught off guard, you won't be deceived, you'll stand firm because you know who you belong to. I don't know if we'll ever meet in person. I don't know if you'll remember my name after this video ends. But I know that Jesus used my near-death experience to give me a message, and I've delivered it to you. What you do with it now is between you and him. But please, I'm begging you, don't ignore this. Don't dismiss this as just another prophecy video. Don't wait until it's too late. Jesus warned me first. And now I'm warning you, they are coming in November 2026. But we have a Savior who has already overcome the world. We have a God who has already won the victory, and we have the Holy Spirit who will guide us through whatever is ahead. So let's walk into this prepared. Let's walk into this together, and let's show the world what it looks like to stand firm in faith when everything around us is shaking. If this message resonated with you, I need you to share it. Don't keep this to yourself. There are people in your life who need to hear this warning. There are people who are searching for answers, who are sensing something is coming but don't know what. Share this video with them. Leave a comment below and let me know you're preparing. Let me know you're standing with Jesus. Because we're building a community of believers who refuse to be deceived. And I want you to be part of it. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because I'll be sharing more about what Jesus revealed to me, and I'll be walking through this preparation season with you. We have 11 months. Let's use every single one of them to draw closer to Jesus, to build our faith, and to prepare for the moment that will define our generation. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and may God bless you and keep you as we walk toward November 2026 together. Stay strong, stay faithful, and stay close to Jesus. He's the only truth we need.